Walter's Sports Bar has been recognized by many local publications as one of the best sports bars in Washington, D.C., located across the street from Nationals Park and open year-round.
And now the set by Cavalli. Now the pitch. Swinging a ground ball up the middle, hit too hard and threw into center field, a base hit. Melendez has scored. Torrens around third. He's coming home. He will score. Benj will stop at second, and Bo Bichette, the Mets' hottest hitter, delivers again with a 2-run single up the middle. And the Mets are on the board first here in the top of the third. It's New York 2 and Washington nothing.
Here's the first pitch. Ruiz hits a slow ground ball to the second baseman. This should do it. Semien has it, flips on to first, and Williams punching his fist in the air as he survives. That bloop double to start the inning, and the Nationals leave the tying run 90 feet away. Mets will split the series as they beat the Nationals 2-1 in Game 4. The league's highest scoring offense stymied today, and they lead the tying run at third in the last of the night.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. My usual co-host, Nats insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is off for this installment of the podcast, but I'm pleased to be joined by the creator, owner, and executive producer of the podcast, Tim Shovers. And believe it or not, we have a pitcher's duel to discuss. Yes, the same 2026 Washington Nationals team that continues to be number one in MLB in runs scored and dead last in MLB in runs allowed. That team played a 2-1 game on Thursday. Unfortunately, that game was a 2-1 loss. A 2-1 loss to the New York Mets at Nationals Park on Thursday for a split of a 4-game series. So the Nats concluded a 4-3 homestand with that loss. So the Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season are back to being below 500, 25-26, 10-16 at home versus 15-10 on the road. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Shirtgood, owned and operated by a diehard Nats fan. Shirtgood makes funny and local shirts, such as the iconic Howie Kendrick foul pole shirt. Check out Shirtgood at shirtgoodhq.com or ShirtgoodHQ on Instagram and use the promo code NatsChat for 10% off your order. So, Tim, this was a loss. But in so many ways, I feel like this was a win because Cade Cavalli was so good. And from a Nats perspective, that matters so much more than anything else in this game. The number one item from this game, from a Nats perspective, is something quite good. Cade Cavalli was great. 2 runs in 7 innings, 9 strikeouts versus 1 walk as the Nats starting pitcher. There are some negatives we'll get to, but I don't know that there's any doubt about this. The headline item from this game, from a Nats perspective, is Cade Cavalli, who is looking better and better, and maybe, just maybe, is going to work out to be the pitcher who he was drafted to be.
Get to Cavalli in a second. They did lose, so I'm going to start with one brief negative. It's a real shame they lost today. Could have gone over 500. They wasted a really good start by Cavalli. You and I will get to that. But to Cavalli, Al, yes. I was listening to Mets radio today, and they were talking about Cavalli like he was an ace. And it's like, oh, it's Cavalli day. Take whatever you can get.
He does pull the bat back and got hit on the left forearm, right under the wrist. And I say take one for the team because Cavalli is right now, he's cooking. He's dealing. Anything to knock him out of his rhythm. So MJ tries to lay a bunt down, gets hit by a pitch, and if anything, now Cavalli has to throw it to the stretch. You just shake up the rhythm just enough. We'll see how much that affects Cade Cavalli.
They were extremely impressed by him. Obviously, I was extremely impressed by him. He went up a little bit of a level today, I sort of feel like if on a smaller scale, if Victor Wembanyama had his kind of next level game the other night in basketball, like this to me was almost like Cavalli's next level start, where after the last few Foster Griffin starts, it's like, hey guys, I'm the ace on this staff.
I like that. A Wemby comp, kind of, for Cade Cavalli. Interesting. I was not expecting that from you on this installment of the podcast, but we get that. Yeah, Cavalli was really good. And, everyone's different. To me, what Cavalli did supersedes the disappointment of the Nats not getting a game above 500. Like, honestly, that's going to come. Like, I really don't have any doubts about that. Like, the Nats are going to get above 500 fairly deep into this season here. I mean, we're already past the 50-game mark. Like, that's going to happen for whatever that's worth. What matters more is that this guy, Cavalli, becomes the person who we want him to be, becomes the pitcher who he was drafted to be. And it's more and more looking like that may happen, could happen, maybe even is likely to happen at this point. Cavalli, 2 runs, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. He gave up just 4 hits, all of which were singles. He did issue 2 hit-by pitches, but he threw a lot of strikes, 84 pitches, 58 strikes, just 26 balls. Top of the third, got into some trouble, allowed 2 runs on a one-out hit-by pitch, and then 3 consecutive one-out singles, but he overall did so well. He per StatCast threw 5 different types of pitches, and his velocity was up on each of them, including an average four-seam fastball velocity of 96.5 miles per hour. The 5 pitches, by the way, a four-seam fastball, a sweeper, a sinker, a knuckle curve, and a changeup, but the velo was up on each of the 5 pitches. We know that his stuff is a big part of what makes him so appealing, is a big part of why the Nats took him with the number 22 overall pick in the 2020 MLB first-year player draft out of the University of Oklahoma. We have talked about this plenty of times. It has taken a long time for Cade Cavalli to get going as a major league pitcher. I mean, it is something that he was drafted in 2020. It's now 2026, and we are just now talking about him becoming the pitcher, perhaps, who he was drafted to be. But you know what? Better late than never, and if it's happening, it's an outstanding development. You look at Cavalli now in this regular season, 11 games, all starts, ERA 3.86, whip 1.43. The whip is high, but the whip is coming down. Strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.23. And Tim, we remember when Cavalli was not lasting long in games earlier this season, and we talked about that. Cavalli, not that long ago, was disappointing more than he was impressing. But his last 2 outings now, he has pitched into the 7th inning. His previous outing came in the Nats' 13-3 win over the Baltimore Orioles at Nationals Park this past Saturday. Cavalli in that game officially allowed 3 runs in 6 into 3rd innings. But as you may recall, the last of the runs was scored with him out of the game, and he had 8 strikeouts versus no walks. Keep it going, Cade Cavalli, but a lot to like right now.
Yeah, the pitch count was really low today, 84 through 7. I mean, it was in the 70s in the 6th inning. You know, he was sort of flirting with a Maddox, if you will. I mean, I didn't think he was going to throw a complete game, but, you know, Maddox is a complete game under 100 pitches, and Cavalli was in that neighborhood as long as he lasted. So I love that so much. I love that Beeter had no problem throwing him in the 7th inning. Like, this makes you think a similar sort of start later in the year. Maybe Cavalli takes them out in the 8th inning and helps a beleaguered bullpen, such as right now when they have no off days. Talk about 2020 and how long ago the draft was. I'll give you another thing, Al. 2021 on a Friday night against the Cubs. This is the first game after the sell-off. So, like, this is the new chapter of the Washington Nationals. And that night, Cavalli had a good start in the minors. I remember tweeting about it to our audience, like, and you know, the future's here. And it's like, okay, well, obviously, typical of that rebuild, things didn't work out so well for a while. So I just got a kick out of that. But here is, in line with the loss, the one disappointing thing, and we're picking nits here, but, you know, they did lose today, is that 3rd inning where he hits Melendez with the pitch, and the Mets announcer said it right away, like, oh, could this mess up Cavalli's flow? And it sure did. Gave up a couple of hits. Nats, on a quiet day with the bats, found themselves down in what was an insurmountable 2-run lead. And if he wants to continue to keep that next level and for him to truly be an ace, he has to get past that hit by a pitch, and he has to really throw 7 shutout innings or 7 innings with just 1 run given up. That 3rd inning was the ball game, unfortunately.
Yeah, the 3rd inning reminded you of some of the struggles for Cade Cavalli earlier this season, right? The inning went on and on and on, and there was a hit by pitch and then 3 singles after that, and it just felt like, all right, he's laboring. And, you know, in the moment, it's only the 3rd inning, and so you say to yourself, like, is this going to be one of these outings in which Cavalli only lasts, 3 2/3 or something like that? But he was good the rest of the game. I mean, beyond that 3rd inning, just a lot of good stuff from Cade Cavalli. And, you know, you mentioned the pitch efficiency. We saw some pitch efficiency from Nats starting pitchers in this series, and wouldn't that be nice if all of a sudden now we do start seeing Nats starting pitchers be more pitch efficient? Remember what happened in the previous game, the 8-4 win over the Mets at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening. Zach Littell, 2 runs in 5 innings, supremely pitch efficient, 5 innings, just 60 pitches, 41 strikes, 19 balls. A question for you. The biggest individual player bright spot for the Nats so far this season is who? You could argue, of course, James Wood. You could argue, of course, C.J. Abrams. But you also could argue Cade Cavalli. Is Cade Cavalli the number 1 individual player bright spot for the Nats this season, or does that honor right now go to somebody else?
I'll throw a fourth name in there for consideration, Nasim Nunez. I mean, because the Nats might have a real second baseman. I know he committed an error today, but he is leading the majors in steals, and it's Memorial Day weekend. Like, this is a real thing here. And you guys had a Gold Glove conversation briefly earlier this week. So basically, because Wood and Abrams are, though, high up in statistical categories, this is not surprising to me. So I would boil down the argument to Cavalli or Nunez. And like everything else, to me, the tie always goes to pitching, because that's how you win, pitching and defense. And so, the Nats cannot turn the corner, go that next step, as this roster is constituted without Cavalli being good or maybe even great. Like, there is not a ton in the pitching pipeline at the moment, as we've talked about. If Blake Butera, and not the next manager, wants to make the playoffs at some point, need Cade Cavalli to continue his upswing.
Well, Nasim Nunez with his .509 OPS being touted as potentially the biggest individual player bright spot for the Nats this season. He has been great defensively, and of course, he is great on the base pass. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to this. You say whatever, you feel like saying. With Abrams, there's the defense, which has not been so good. With Wood, he had the slow start, although the overall body of work now is quite good. But the point would just be this: Cade Cavalli is in contention for this honor because he's pitching well now. He's gotten his overall statistical profile into a good spot. And what you brought up, I think, is so key. With the Nats and their position players, there are young guys who are already at the major league level who, in theory anyway, should be pieces moving forward. When it comes to starting pitching, we're just kind of waiting on a bunch of different people. Cade Cavalli is the guy right now who you look at and you say, okay, this guy could truly be a piece moving forward. But, as we wait for like Travis Sakura and Harleen Susana and some of the, Luis Perales, Cavalli's kind of it right now in terms of young Nats pitchers in the major league starting rotation. Now, of course, there is Brad Lord in the bullpen. There is Andrew Alvarez in the bullpen. So, it's not like the entire pitching staff just has Cavalli and a bunch of older players, but Cavalli right now is very much leading the charge at the major league level when it comes to young Nats pitching, and Cavalli in this game did well.
This episode is brought to you by Shirtgood. Owned and operated by a diehard Nats fan and Maryland native, Shirtgood makes funny and local shirts, hats, and more. For Nats fans, they have a great embroidered hat with the Half Street Southeast street sign, a We'll Always Have 2019 t-shirt with that iconic Howie Kendrick World Series foul pole, and a lot more. There's also a hat and a shirt making fun of that "This copyrighted telecast" baseball disclaimer you always hear. Plus, a lot more for baseball fans, DC area locals, and folks with a good sense of humor. Check them out at shirtgoodhq.com or shirtgoodhq on Instagram. That's SHIRTGOOD, and use code NATSCHAT for 10% off your order.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend. The big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel. But it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVANISH.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com.
Here's the set for Ribalta. He deals. Swinging a fly ball, deep right center field. This is trouble. Way back it goes toward the wall, but the wind knocks it down, and Jacob Young makes the catch just shy of the warning track. On another day, that might have been up off the fence or maybe in the seats, but Jacob Young makes the play. Orlando Ribalta, put on your Houdini hat. He escapes bases loaded, nobody out, with a drive caught just shy of the warning track in right center.
The Nats relief pitching in this game did well. 2 Nats relievers combined for 2 scoreless innings. Clayton Beeter tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 8th with 2 swinging strikeouts. Did issue a 2-out walk of Juan Soto. Did give up a stolen base by Soto. Did issue a wild pitch, but Clayton Beeter is back. The Nats on Thursday morning announced having returned Beeter from his minor league rehab assignment and having reinstated him from the 15-day injured list. He had been on that since April 26, retroactive to April 23rd due to right forearm soreness. And if you are a regular listener of this podcast, you were not surprised by Beeter being back. Mark had been talking about that. Clayton Beeter, by the way, one of a whopping 7 Nats pitchers, each with at least 1 save in this regular season. That is something. 7 different Nats pitchers, each with at least 1 save. And we're only 51 games into the regular season here. And how about Orlando Ribalta? He somehow tossed a scoreless top of the 9th, despite the Mets having the bases loaded with nobody out. I am very surprised the final score ended up being 2-1, because in that top of the 9th, it felt like the final score could end up being 6-1. Ribalta began the inning by giving up back-to-back singles, and then Nasim Nunez committed that error that Tim brought up. Second baseman Nasim Nunez, a missed catch error at first base on a bunt by A.J. Ewing to load the bases with nobody out. But Ribalta somehow, some way, retired each of the Mets' next 3 batters, including Nunez making a nice play, a running, leaping, backhanded catch of a liner by Luis Torrens while running across the top of the middle of the infield for the second out. So the defense of Nunez, even in an inning in which he committed an error, somehow stands out in a positive way. And Orlando Ribalta continues to stand out. You look at what Ribalta has done at the major league level here in this regular season. 10 games, 10 innings, ERA 1.80, whip 0.80. Good to see Ribalta continue to do well. And good to have Clayton Beeter back. I mean, not that Beeter has been lights out, but he has done some good stuff. And just the more options, the better for this pitching staff with the way that we know Blake Butera likes to handle things, and that is aggressively use relievers.
A lot to like in the 8th and 9th inning from this game today, as you talked about. Look at both of their numbers, Clayton Beeter and Orlando Ribalta. Beeter's ERA, 3.18. Ribalta's ERA is 1.8. Neither of them have given up multiple runs in an outing yet. Now, I know they're not starters, but still, none of them have blown up when they've taken the mound this year. I'm really happy with this Clayton Beeter return. And it's sort of performances like this and the fact that, because like if you said Orlando Ribalta's name in April, you probably were rolling your eyes reflexively and just lumping him in with all the other struggling bullpen pitchers. But if you're looking for reasons on top of the offense as to why this team is right around 500 entering Memorial Day weekend, it's things like Clayton Beeter and Orlando Ribalta stepping up in the pen. This stuff is starting to add up, and it's great that we're feeling a little bit better about parts of this bullpen than we were a month ago.
Well, for all of the talk about whether the Nats' great offense is going to regress, what doesn't get talked about as much is whether the Nats' horrible pitching is going to improve. And the pitching has improved in recent weeks. Now, you wonder, okay, to what extent is the pitching going to improve, right? I mean, because the overall numbers still are really bad. But like, if we're going to talk about one extreme coming down, what about the other extreme coming up? If we're going to talk about the extreme that is the Nats' elite offense coming back down to earth, what about the extreme that is the Nats' really bad pitching maybe not being so bad? And, you know, I feel like we are in the process of seeing that, but, you know, we need to continue to sort of see that improvement. But in recent weeks, the pitching has been better. There's no disputing that, okay? Like, it was for a while a given that the Nats were going to give up, 6, 7, 8 runs in a game. That's not the case right now. And that's not to say that the pitching is lights out, but like what we saw on Thursday, it didn't shock you. Like, Cade Cavalli is in a good place. We've seen the bullpen have enough good games here recently now to where, you see what was done by Beeter and Ribalta, and you're not shocked by that. So the Nats pitching in this 2-1 loss to the Mets at Nationals Park on Thursday, not the problem. The offense was, and that is not something that we have said often so far this season, but the offense on Thursday was not good. The Nats in this game just 1 run, just 5 hits, which were 2 doubles and 3 singles, 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did draw 4 walks, but did not do much against Mets starting pitcher David Peterson. He allowed 1 run in 5 innings, a much different tale from what we saw just a few weeks ago. The Nats, in their 14-2 win at the Mets on April 29th, ripped Peterson, who in that game officially allowed 7 runs in 3 2/3 innings. But just not a lot happening with the Nats offensively in this game.
No, and you could tell right away that they didn't really have it, and it's a shame because they had a real chance to win today. And also, David Peterson's a guy that they, beat up really well in April, and he allowed 7 runs against them. And then today, he only gives up 1 run, even though he walked 3 guys. Couldn't get multiple runs. I did like, though, positive front, Keibert Ruiz continues to impact this offense. And the Mets guys were talking about Ruiz like he's a different player now.
Got Keibert Ruiz, and then the top of the order for the Nationals. First pitch. Ruiz lines one over short. A base hit going into left field. Who is this guy? This Keibert Ruiz we have never seen before. He is mashing.
So that was really interesting to hear their perspective there. And I really like when days that he's hitting well in that 9th spot, it flips the order over well. One thing I hated, though, Al, with the offense, this really, really bugged me today. Early on in the game, double steal with Nunez on second and Ruiz at first. And Ruiz gets thrown out at second. It's like when you do a double steal with Nunez on the field, with Ruiz as his trail runner, you've neutralized Nunez's speed. Who cares how fast he is? Because now your catcher is trying to steal second base. The Mets nabbed him, and it was the end of one of the few threats that the Nats had for the day. I thought that was a real mistake, that inning.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand why you double steal with Keibert Ruiz ever. Just cool it with the aggression in a moment like that and let your bats do what your bats have done so well this season, and that is produce. And instead, the Nats running themselves into an out. Also with Keibert Ruiz in this game, the plate appearance that he had to end the game was like him reverting right back to bad Keibert Ruiz. Bottom of the 9th, Keibert Ruiz comes up to bat with Dalen Lyle on third, 2 outs, Nats down 2-1, and Ruiz, in facing the Mets closer Devin Williams, had a weak first pitch ground out to Mets second baseman Marcus Semien to end the game. Just a 1-pitch plate appearance in a spot in which, Williams was on the ropes with a runner on third like that. And again, that plate appearance is what you don't like about Keibert Ruiz as a batter. The thing about what he has been doing lately is showing us what we do like about him as a batter. And I don't want to hit him too hard on this because he has been so good lately, but you see what he did to end the game on Thursday, and you juxtapose that with that great plate appearance that he had on Wednesday evening. 8-4 win over the Mets at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening. Ruiz in the Nats' 1-run second, a 1-out RBI single into left field to put the Nats up 4-1. That single concluded an 8-pitch plate appearance in which Ruiz was down at 1.12. That was a really good piece of hitting by Keibert Ruiz, and that just was not the Keibert Ruiz who we saw in that final plate appearance on Thursday. But he in this game as the Nats starting catcher and number 9 batter, 2 for 4 with 2 singles. And while he did get thrown out in an attempted steal of second base, he also threw out a runner on an attempted steal of second base. Ruiz in the top of the 7th threw out A.J. Ewing on an attempted steal of second base for the second out. The throw was into the runner, but C.J. Abrams did a nice job there of applying the tag to the left leg of Ewing. One other Nat had more than 1 hit in this game. Dalen Lyle as the Nats starting DH and number 6 batter, 2 for 4 with a double and a single. How about the double? Bottom of the 9th, a leadoff double on a routine fly ball to shallow center field. The Mets center fielder, A.J. Ewing, misplayed the ball and then failed to make the catch. A gift of a double for Dalen Lyle, but he did get the double. James Wood had a double. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 1 batter, went 1 for 4 with a double. If you're curious about Dylan Cruz, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter, 0 for 3 with a walk. He also had a fielding error. I don't want every series, let alone every game, to be a referendum on Cruz, but I just would say this, and look, what we do on this podcast is we talk about things as they are happening. I thought the Cruz who we saw in this series was very similar to the Cruz who we had seen at the major league level previously. I mean, it was underwhelming in this series. 3 games, 2 for 11 with 2 singles and a walk. Now, first 3 games back since being brought back up from AAA Rochester. So, again, I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it, but how he does matters. And so as we evaluate how he is doing, I do think it is worth highlighting he in this series, to me, what we saw of him, what we saw from him, it reminded me a lot of what we had seen from him at the major league level.
Small sample size, of course, but slow start, as you just said. Tough batting line in the 3-game series, and then an error today with Nunez. The Nats, who have the number one offense in baseball, committed more errors than they scored runs in a close game, which is why they lost this game 2-1. Want to mention real quick on the 9th inning, Al, you talk about that Dale and Lyle leadoff double, and then right after it, you mentioned the capper with Ruiz ground out. Dale and Lyle, leadoff double, right? Luis Garcia Jr., ground out. Jose Tena strikes out. Ruiz, ground out. Ball never leaves the infield you got the leadoff runner at second base. A real shame. Back to Cruz, though, in that, yeah, there's just not too much to dive into yet. I do want to keep seeing him play every single day. Like, I don't want him to play and then sit here and there. Like, I want him automatically into the lineup, whoever makes sense in the outfield, whether it's right field or center field. And it's probably, now that Jacob Young is back in the lineup, going to be right field. So I do like that part. I hope Butera doesn't overreact in 2 or 3 games and sits him for a bit. I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if that happens. Like, I think now that Cruz is back up, you got to have him out there, and you have to give him ample opportunity to succeed or fail. You're not sending him back to Rochester. Like, that's not happening, okay? Like, it's go time. This is why I made such a big deal out of that a few episodes ago. Like, there is real pressure here for him to perform. There's irony because a lot of the conversation has been that he needs to play without feeling pressure, but the reality is that there is a lot of pressure. So, he needs to sort of pretend like there isn't pressure, but, if he's going to be the man, he's got to show it here. And if he doesn't, then I'm not sure what happens. Like, if he ends up not performing well over the course of the rest of this season, where do you go from here with him? And I think at that point, you really just would adjust what you expect from him and what you think he can be as a major league player. So I think these next few months are big. He is so talented. I still think there is a very good chance that he ends up becoming a very good player. I by no means have given up on him. There are many paths to greatness. So to just say that because he got sent down to Rochester, he'll never be the player who he was drafted to be, I don't buy that. But there's no doubt, like, the fact that he got sent down, that was not the way this was supposed to go. This was a guy who was supposed to be a major league ready player when he was drafted with a number 2 overall pick, and he so far hasn't performed. So it's huge how he does these next few months.
No pressure, no diamonds, Al. Bring on the pressure to Dylan Cruz.
As another man taken with a number 2 overall pick in a draft by a Washington, D.C. team said many years ago.
No pressure, no diamonds.
Here's the set. Peterson fires. Swinging on a ground ball. Diving stop by Vientos at first. He stabs it, gets to his feet, and runs to the bag in time for the out. Abrams gets robbed of an RBI extra base hit. Vientos lays out to his glove side. The ball sticks in the mitt. He retires Abrams unassisted to strand the tying run at third. What a play by Mark Vientos.
I thought that ball was heading for the right field corner.
A 4-3 homestand for the Nats, a winning homestand. We like that. 4-game split with the Mets. Next up comes a 6-game road trip, a 3-game series at the Atlanta Braves, a 3-game series at the Cleveland Guardians, and then finally a scheduled off day for the Nats. Thursday, May 28th is that next scheduled off day. A thank you to the baseball angels in the sky. 0 rain delays over the final few days of this series with rain all over the forecast. Things really worked out. So we thank all of the Washington, D.C. baseball angels up above, Walter Johnson, Frank Howard, and everyone else there for guiding us through the weather here in the D.C. area in recent days. 25 and 26. How much does it matter? And how nice would it be for the Nats to come home from this 6-game trip above 500? I don't know how doable that is. The Braves are great, as we know, and that'll be the opponent this weekend. But what about, 4-2 road trip? That would put the Nats at 29 and 28. That's asking for a decent amount. This is not an easy road trip. I get that. But the Nats have been good on the road, so let's see what happens here.
2 first-place teams on this road trip. Braves and Cleveland's in first place if you're not paying attention to the AL Central. And Cleveland is above 500, which there are very few teams in the American League that are over 500. So keep that in mind. To the importance of 500, that's why I'm real aggravated with this loss today. It was a real missed opportunity to go up 26 and 25 heading into Atlanta. Cavalli pitched well. You should be able to get 3 runs across, but they didn't. And onward, it's a tall ask to come back from this road trip at above 500, but I think it'd be really, really nice psychological boost to this fan base and to the team if they come back next homestand Friday night against San Diego. There is, I'm going to sound 100 years old, Teo Cruz, I think, is the post-game concert that night. I'm saying that offhand. And but I think the fans would be really excited for the team to come back into town basically in June, well past Memorial Day, at above 500. No one saw that coming in March.
That would be outstanding. Teo Cruz is tremendous. That's a great act that the Nats got. Like I said, 4-2, that is asking a good bit on this 6-game trip, especially considering that Cade Cavalli, as things stand now, would only be expected to pitch once over those 6 games. But again, the Nats have surprised us throughout this season, so I would not dismiss anything as a possibility. All right, some sad news, but something that I did want to make mention of. Rest in peace to Howard Fendrich, longtime writer for the Associated Press. We on Thursday afternoon learned that he had passed away. Howard was just 55. He was diagnosed with cancer this past February and ended up passing away. Very sad news. Howard Fendrich, a longtime writer for the AP, covered a number of sports, but specific to the D.C. area, he was a staple at Washington Nationals games for years. Now, he covered other teams, too. Covered the Washington Capitals. This past Washington Commander season, he covered the Commanders. He was at a bunch of their games and practices. But so respected is Howard Fendrich that the Nats and Caps put out statements in honor of Howard on Thursday. Here was a statement from the Nats on Thursday afternoon, quote, "The Washington Nationals extend our deepest sympathies to the family, friends, and loved ones of Howard Fendrich. Howard's professionalism and humor earned him the respect of our players, coaches, front office staff, and all he encountered at Nationals Park. His contributions to and impact on sports journalism extend far beyond that of the Nationals press box. He will be dearly missed," end quote. Mark knew Howard very well. If you go to Mark's X account at Mark Zuckerman, you'll see some really good stuff from Mark on Howard. And how about this? So nationally speaking, Howard probably was best known for his coverage of tennis. The obituary of Howard that was written by Eddie Pells of the AP, it includes quotes from maybe the greatest tennis player ever, Roger Federer, singing the praises of Howard Fendrich. Roger Federer, quote, "He started covering tennis in 2002, right around the time I was starting to have my breakthrough in the sport. And over time, he truly became part of the fabric of tennis. Tennis lost a wonderful journalist and a great person," end quote. How about that? Roger Federer singing the praises of Howard Fendrich. That says a lot about who Howard was.
That jumped out to me immediately. I was stunned by the news. I was not aware that he was sick. Very, very sad news. Saw Howard over the years in press boxes. I did not know him well. I had brief conversations with him over time. He was a man that you could tell he was a respected journalist. Just when you saw him and talked to him, you knew he was a professional, a real pro, which is as much of a compliment as you can give in our industry. And when I saw that Roger Federer quote, I thought that was exactly it. I mean, I don't know tennis very well, and I didn't realize that Howard was of that high level in the tennis world because I just don't follow the sport. But for Roger Federer, honestly, I was floored when I saw what Federer had to say. It's been a bit of a tough go the last few years in the DC sports media world. It's not a big group of people, and really, really hope that these sorts of stories discontinue in the near future.
Yeah, all the best to his family and friends. Well, next up for the Nats is this 6-game road trip beginning with the 3-game series at the National League leading Atlanta Braves. The Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Friday night at 7:15, Miles Mikolas. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 4:10, Jake Irvin. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 4:10, Foster Griffin. This installment of Nats Chat is brought to us by Shirtgood, owned and operated by a diehard Nats fan. Shirtgood makes funny and local shirts, such as the iconic Howie Kendrick foul pole shirt. Check out Shirtgood at shirtgoodhq.com or ShirtgoodHQ on Instagram and use the code NatsChat for 10% off your order. Also, don't forget we offer shout-outs on the Nats Chat podcast. Email Tim for more information on that. Our email address is natschatpodcast@gmail.com, and we have a website at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. That website is natschatpodcast.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
I'm standing outside Arthur Ashe Stadium at the U.S. Open, and I'm Howard Fendrich, the tennis writer for the Associated Press. We're here inside the media center, and it's where hundreds of reporters from around the world follow matches when they can't get to a court in person. Part of what I love about my job is that every day is different. You go out to courts, watch matches, interview players and coaches. I was lucky enough to write about the careers of all-time greats like Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic. Everyone's career goes through different phases, and getting to hear about them by talking to the players and then getting to write about it and share those stories with my readers is a great thing to be able to do.